see here. I want to look at the question.
All right. So let's see. So the first kind of round of questions is kind of just talking about what grade would you give the founders of the Runway for their work in starting the company? Yeah, kind of some follow-up questions there too, but I I think that they came up with a really, really good concept, and they did some trials that were really promising, and from there they just kind of like did stuff to make it work, but it wasn't super organized. Like I found one thing I
Yeah.
found kind of concerning was that they bought all the inventory, they did all the financing, they got like everything, like venture capitalists involved, they did all this stuff, but they didn't even have a website like up and ready yet.
Yeah. That's a little weird. Yeah.
Like that's the only way they'll be able to like distribute their stuff, and they got pretty much everything ready to go, and the website was not done.
Yeah, that was my biggest problem with them, and because there was talk about them expanding and going to like bracelets and jewelry and stuff like that, right? Or at
Yeah.
least other
Yep.
types of accessories and everything. And I'm thinking to myself, well, you guys are already scrapping to get by as it is. The idea of trying to expand right now. Maybe you guys should get your stuff together first, because it seems like there's a lot of positive things, but get your stuff together and then go ahead and expand. So
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of businesses that like there's a lot of really good ideas out there. They don't really gain a whole lot of traction in the long
mm-hmm.
run because like the people aren't businessmen. They just had a good idea and they started to run with it, but then they found out that like, oh man, like this isn't working. We need to have a business plan. We need to make sure everything's in order, and it just kind of crumbles.
Yeah, it's true. It's something that it's so tempting, I'm sure, to try to jump on an opportunity. But I know the company that I work for right now. It's a pest control company, which is why I'm trying to get my degree so that I don't have to be in a pest control company anymore. Um, but the owners, they talked about trying to move into commercial work at one point because they're doing just residential services, and
Yeah.
then commercial obviously is very different. And they said that the first time that they tried doing it, it didn't work, and so there's a process in trying to expand your business into other areas, and so. Yeah, so do we have to give them an actual grade, like for A, B, C, D, F, whatever?
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
except to grade them, I would say I'd give them like a B or a B minus because like they actually did a pretty good job in getting things set up and ready to go. And
mhm.
obviously their product was really good and their service, but they definitely kind of went out about it a kind of a weird way where if it wasn't a really good idea and it didn't like take off really quickly, it could have blown up in their face.
Yeah, and I think they are lucky for that. So yeah, I would give them a B minus two as well. Um, I don't think it would take much long for them to get themselves under control, but they do need to do that. And once they do that, then I think the sky is the limit for them. So
Yeah. Let's see. It asks, where did the founder stumble? We kind of talked about that. What should they have done differently? Um, I would say again, getting the website. I think it was right to do all the trials initially just to make sure that they had a product that had interest and they knew that they could sell it. But from there, it's like you need to find out and prepare a way to distribute it, and then make sure that works as well.
yeah, yeah, and I mean, it talks about them having to, I think, almost in a frenzy. It seemed like trying to hire people to come in and handle all the work, and they were, like I said, scrapping by. So yeah,
There was a couple phrases that I thought were interesting when they were talking to um their kind of their backing person, Scott friend, I think. Um,
mm-hmm.
what did he say? No, 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 no. He said that like they didn't really understand the business part, but they were super like active and were ready to go and do things. And they said that he just kind of like didn't care that didn't have all the answers about the business and just kind of let them run crazy with their idea, which
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It seems kind of concerning that their venture capitalist guy isn't really even looking at their financials and spending a lot of time there.
Yeah, no, that's yeah. Again, it just seems like that would be something that you would want to do, you know. Yeah, so I don't get that either. So um, that is definitely a worry. You know, you got to look at your structural process as well as your conceptual, that sort of thing.
Mm,
Also, you know, that part of them saying that they had a waiting list of like 50,000 people on it. I mean,
right.
that seems insane to me. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like going to a restaurant and them telling that it's a 2 hour wait. Have you ever done that before? You know, and they tell you it's like a 2 hour wait, and you're like, well, we'll go somewhere else then. You know,
Exactly.
I mean, that's kind of like how it seemed, and so um, I just think that um, their structural part is needs to be taken care of. Their conceptual and their spirit and so forth is great, but that part
Mhm.
needs to be taken care of for sure.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of a interesting thing because initially reading through it before I like because I read like the first part and then I went down to read the last part and I was like they should definitely go for another round of financing because their product is super taking off. They can totally expand into like accessories and things like that. But then like as I read through it all, I found like all the holes in the things that they had done and stuff like that is just going to get worse and
Yeah,
too fast.
yeah. You definitely don't want that. So yeah, I totally agree with all that.
All right, so next couple questions. Have the founders of Rent the Runway validated their business model? And what is their business model?
Um, I think they've validated it real well because the concept is very strong. You know, it's about making women feel confident and beautiful in a dress that they normally could not afford by renting it. And I think that concept has gone gangbusters, and I think women want it, you know, and so
Right?
so I think as far as the validation, yeah, it's just the structural thing that's a mess. So
Yeah, I mean it again, it's hard to I think the business that they've created is really good and the model that they have like I think it'll definitely work as long as they figure out how to fill all those holes in. And I
yeah,
like you said, I think it's been validated because it works and they're overbooked and they're selling tons and it's clearly working and kind of moving. But if they want to take it to the next level, then they kind of need to patch it up and make sure that it's running really well. I mean, if they do another round of financing, then they should consider like getting an operations expert to they can
yeah,
hire somebody like that to figure out how to best run the thing because they could be missing out on lot of opportunities just because they don't know what they're doing.
yeah. I wonder if they have finance people like accountants or financial accountants and that sort of thing, as well as just operations managers and stuff like that. Everybody who can foresee the ins and outs and everything, the buying of the dresses, the and so forth. I mean, I think they have too much entrepreneurial vision, and they just need to get back to the nuts and bolts and everything and
Yeah.
everything. Yep.
All right. Let's see what else we got here. It asks a couple things. How many times does a dress need to be rented in order to break even? How many times has an average dress been rented during the first 2 months of operation?
That I don't know. I don't even remember hearing anything about that specifically. I know that they were getting close to breaking even, and it was going to take. I think they said it's somewhere in 2011 for them to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I don't know what the figure was for actual per dress or whatever. So that I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't do a ton of looking through all of the exhibits. Um, there's only one.
It just looked it just looked like with all the investment that they had made, it said in there specifically that they were close to breaking even and that they could even go quicker by doing more fundraising now and get to that point even quicker. I know it said that in there for sure.
Mhm.
Um, but as far as actual unit and that sort of thing, because I guess I don't even understand what the question is. It's saying per unit or something? Like how many dresses?
Yeah, so I'm looking at Exhibit 4, which is probably where we could find everything.
That makes sense.
So
Yeah, I didn't want.
if the cost of the dress to rent the runway is 226, revenue per rental is 90, and then variable cost per rental. So they're only making $59 per rental. So
Okay.
they'd have to have like 3 or 4 rentals per dress. About 4 rentals per dress to break even on that one dress.
On the one dress, yeah.
Yeah.
Do
Which
you think they should raise their prices?
they totally could.
Yeah.
I mean, because
And that, that
if the cost to them is 226 and they're only renting them for 90, but I mean, I guess you don't want to push a lot of people away through hiring the price. I don't.
uh,
It doesn't have any statistics on like how many rentals each dress is getting per this and that.
and I'm sure it depends on the style too. Like
Right.
maybe one dress is more popular than the other. And then there's also probably a shelf life to how popular that particular dress will be in general, because it may be considered to be really popular and fashionable at one point, but then 3 years down the road, it may be considered yesterday's news or whatever. So,
Right. I would imagine that they should be able to rent each dress like 4 times. What does the question say? How many times does it need to be rented? How many times does an average dress in the first 2 months of operation? So in the first 2 months, it would have to be rented once every 2 weeks to break even.
yeah.
Which,
Okay.
depending on how much inventory, I mean, if they had a couple thousand dresses in inventory and a 50,000 person wait list, like
Yeah.
that's no problem. They
Probably not.
after the first 2 months at least, once all those numbers calm down a little bit, then maybe they'll have a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
Also, they were doing that all over the holidays, and there's tons of parties and stuff going on. So,
Yeah. I know that it said in there that 60% of their inventory was wiped out over the holidays, I think. So
uh
they
huh,
only had 40% that was actually in their inventory, which I guess for them that was kind of weak or whatever. I don't know. I mean, at least they don't have too much in inventory because I know that's a bad thing too. But it said that, and then it said that they had a $50,000 or 50,000 person wait list. So yeah, it does seem like their inventory would need to increase in order to compensate for the demand. And then, but then it said that wait list went down after the holidays down to 5,000, and that 12.5% of the customers who did order the first time came back to order again. So,
mm-hmm.
which I guess was pretty good as well. So, I guess my point is yeah, I guess they could raise the prices and so forth, but they are doing pretty good as far as trying to sell the service. So, um,
Yeah, I think, yeah, I'm just a little concerned, just kind of with the same along the lines of like they just don't have the experience in the business side of like
yeah,
matching inventory to demand and like making sure that like after the holidays they need to find a way to get rid of inventory because they won't have so much demand. I mean, if it dropped from 50,000 during the holidays to only 5,000, you just lost 40,000 customers.
yeah, that's true.
So, and I don't know if they're taking that into account or making changes there because they said
Yeah,
they wanted to boost dress inventory to 5,000 by April.
yeah, it makes sense. That would be something that would be something to try to figure out. Boy, that makes the whole idea of owning a business even that much more complicated. Dealing
Right.
with seasonal input and demand and so forth. Yeah, I think that they got to figure out the nuts and bolts of it because the idea is so good. I think
Yeah.
In fact, I even my fiance and I were even talking about this. Like why do women buy a dress for $2,000 or $3,000, wear it once, and then put it in their closet for the rest of their life? What's the point of
Right.
that?
You know,
Like why don't?
my wife actually got her wedding dress. Like, I don't even know where she heard about this, but she like ordered it from some website in China
Mm-hmm.
where like you put in all of the exact like specific measurements and specs for your body, and then they'll make it custom make it and ship it to you. And it was only like $300.
Really?
Yeah, it was crazy. It literally came in like a bag. I mean, it's a full on like wedding dress. It came in a bag that was like a foot and a half by a foot and a half big. And she's just like,
Interesting.
"Is my dress in there?" And she like pulled it out, and it was like squished into a little bag, but like it came out and it looked great and it fit great. And she was like, "That was totally worth it."
Fantastic.
But
Wow.
I don't know
Yeah.
if that's how it works with everybody.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I know they're going into next. Is it next weekend or the weekend after? Her mom and her are actually flying to Utah or to Salt Lake because for whatever reason, I guess the store they want's there or whatever.
Yeah,
To go ahead and pick it out, but obviously, as a guy, I don't really care too much about all the
yeah.
details.
You're just gonna show
Um,
up and get married.
yeah. There are some details that I do care about for sure. But some of them I really couldn't care less on them. But yeah, but the whole idea of renting a wedding dress, I think, I mean, why not? I mean, you only wear it once. It just sits in the closet. Why do people do that? So
Yep.
I guess they can look at it and feel special, but I don't know. Um, I
We
mean,
will.
because the groom will rent a tux or whatever, and I don't know. It's just it's a good idea. Is my whole main point. The whole idea of renting fancy wear.
Yeah.
Um,
So I was
especially for. I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
Oh,
You
I
go
was just
ahead.
gonna say, especially for a lot of us a lot of people who may not necessarily be concerned with high fashion. I mean, I kind of like to dress up nice, but I know a lot of people don't. So
Right.
so yeah.
So I was just looking at because I really like kind of numbers stuff, and I was
Mm-hmm.
just curious if they get to 5,000 dresses and each dress costs like $250 for them.
Mm-hmm.
That means they'd have like $1.2 million in inventory.
Yeah, and
That's
they would need to compensate that.
that's quite a bit of cash. That's just like if that inventory is just sitting there, then you're sitting on $1.2 million. That's not really doing much.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, if the demand is really there, then like go for it. Get that
Yeah.
inventory up and make sure that it's moving and give everybody options.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So
I think it did say something about how much revenue was coming in, but I don't remember that part specifically. I just figure that with all the people on a waiting list, and 12.5% of them are already coming back within a 2 month period, that's a good sign as well. So they'll just have to do the numbers and so forth and figure out, especially when it comes to the non-holiday seasons, which after Christmas we take a nosedive when it comes to holidays, and
yep,
I should say after New Year's, there's just nothing that goes on unless you count Valentine's Day, which may work for this type of business, but in general, I mean, with the stock market doesn't shut off for Valentine's Day or St. Patrick's Day or anything until Memorial Day. So I mean,
right.
so they would have to take all that into consideration for the whole seasonal approach. So yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. So the last question is: should Rent the Runway seek to scale quickly now or address operational efficiencies?
Well, we've talked about that operation first.
Yeah, and it's a shame.
Yeah.
Like I said, after reading the first part and then the last part, in my mind, I was just like, because I in some of my other classes, I had read about how like one thing that entrepreneurs don't do well sometimes is when
Mm-hmm.
they do, like, they don't plan for success very well. Like,
Yeah.
they don't plan that their product is going to skyrocket and succeed super well, and then when it does, then they don't have the proper financing and they don't have the proper like capital and all these things in place to really accept that skyrocketing. And that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking about when I first read this. I was like, they totally need to do it. They need to like just they're doing great right now in the first 2 months. So they just need to like keep it going, get financing and get ready to explode. But then after reading through all of it, I was like, they're not ready for that. So that's a shame.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think the only thing I put as far as for an alternative, because we have to put that on the case. We have to put our hypothesis and defend it, and then give an alternative.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they can do like some massive hiring right now of all the right people, and somehow make it work. As far as that's concerned, where they can quickly get things in order, um, and correctly predict things, then maybe they can go after that new market, especially if it's a situation where now is the time to do it before a competitor comes in and wipes that up,
Yeah, exactly.
maybe. But again, I mean, if you do that, then you might be setting yourself up for being crushed by your own weight. And so
Yeah.
that's something that I still stand by what we feel. But that is the alternative approach, is that if they can do some massive hiring and restructuring of their system and then go after that really quickly, maybe, but it's kind of seems a little risky to me. So
Yeah. I mean, if we kind of look at it in terms of like Dropbox earlier in the week, the reason
yeah,
the product was so good is just because it was like it just worked super well. Like
yeah,
Dropbox had everything that RTR doesn't have.
yeah.
So I mean, you kind of combine these two companies and then you'll figure it out. But I think operations has to come first.
Yeah, yeah, and then that's what was so great about Dropbox is fix them the inside out, and it was a great approach for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, sweet. That's it for the questions, and not too bad.
Then we should meet again. So we definitely need to get on a regular schedule. I think I've been trying to figure that out. But do you want to
Yeah.
meet
So
Tuesday again?
yeah,
Because
let's plan on Tuesday, Thursday. I'm gonna reach out to a couple of other people and see if I can snag like another partnership to join us on Tuesday, Thursday. But like
uh-huh.
from now on, let's just stick to Tuesday, Thursday, um, and we can just make it a normal thing so we don't have to keep trying to find time to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. It always takes me about 3 to 4 weeks to get into a natural groove with the classes. I
Oh
always
no.
find myself trying to memorize what's going on until that point. I'm sure you feel the same. So, um, alrighty, well, let's do that. I'll have the case read and completed by Monday night,
Yep.
and then I'll talk to you about it on Tuesday, and then I'll shoot for the same thing for Thursday. So
Okay. Awesome.
awesome,
Good.
thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you. I'll send you the link and then we can both submit it from there.
I would appreciate that. Thank you so much.
All right, Derek. Have a good night.
You too.